the excuse was taken out of the game, and the game then changed. When you go through the process of the darkness, of the pressure, of the heat of the cup, you will always be a diamond.
Ladies and gents, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Lucy Davis, and I am joined this evening by the absolutely gorgeous Jamie Denyer, who you met a few weeks ago on the Divine Masculine video that I did with Wendy Smith and Will Gibson. Ladies and gents, we will be back to do part 2 of that, and probably part 3, 4, 5 and 6 very, very soon. However, I wanted to get Jamie on his own and have a really beautiful conversation, because so many of you reached out to me off the back of our video going, oh my God, Jamie has just, and Will have just really installed so much genuine hope for me for the future, because thank God these men are coming through. Thank God these men are starting to shine. So Jamie, first and foremost, thank you.
Absolute blessing, honor and a privilege to come back. And listen, that there, I love the word that you used, and I love the word and all its meaning that people have got. Hope. That's why people call me the hope dealer. You know, and it's one of those that if you've got that, at least, then you're still in the fight and you can still make something of it. You know, hope is just incredible. And when you look at it, what hope stands for, hold on, pain ends.
Yeah, I love that. I absolutely love that. So Jamie, it's been a few weeks since we've publicly spoken. Obviously we've spoken offline, but it's a few weeks since we've publicly spoken. How's things been? Have you been busy? What have you been doing?
Yeah, absolutely busy. You know, I've been kind of working with people online. You will know from our last conversations, you know, a lot of my work, you know, I go into schools, colleges, universities, kind of giving the youngsters this hope, like youngsters, this enlightenment, motivation and inspiration. And it's now coming up to the end of the holidays. You know, I've kind of cherished every single second that I've had, you know, with my 2 little princesses. So, you know, that's taken precedence. But it's the end of the holidays. It's back into it full force now. And, you know, I've been doing a lot of, you know, arranging like dates wise, engagements wise, of traveling the country again and going into these places to kind of give these youngsters a little bit of inspiration or motivation.
Amazing. I need to speak to you about something offline. It's just popped in my head. So I need to speak to you about something offline that could be a good opportunity for you as well. Literally, it just came in then. I'm like, oh, right. Okay, cool. So we'll talk about that offline. So Jamie, I just kind of want to take a step back, if that's okay, because people may have forgotten, you know, I've done lots of different videos since our video, and they may have forgotten part of your journey. And I feel it's going to be really important for the subject that I would like to speak about today. So ladies and gents, the direction that I would like this video to go, and as you know, we do these all very intuitively. So if it goes off in a different tangent, it goes off in a different tangent. But what I would like to get out of this is how you became the man that you are, and how, like, you know, the ladies and the men that have watched the video and they gave feedback were very much, it's really great to see conscious men coming forwards. So your journey was pretty horrific in the fact that you kind of got slapped hard by the universe by losing not just one person, but 2 people that were very close to you. But I believe it started with your nephew. Is that correct?
That's it. Yeah. In 2012, he was on a night out with him and his friends, and in an unprovoked attack, I mean, he was 19 years, 20 days old. The boy that threw a punch from behind was 2 weeks past his 14th birthday. I mean, this boy wasn't a normal 14-year-old. He wasn't built like a normal 14-year-old. In fact, 2 weeks prior to him killing my nephew, he actually broke the jaw of a 21-year-old man who was the boyfriend of his sister, who had upset him. So this boy, this kid, this child had previous, he had history, but he hit my nephew from behind in an unprovoked attack. He went over, hit his head, and died of blunt force trauma, which is severe brain damage, and his brain stem was ruptured. You know, and neurological surgeon said that even if he had survived, death is the best option, because he would have just lived his life in state. So, you know, in these situations, I know that I'm emotionally intelligent enough to look for like the little nuggets of gold, like the diamonds in amongst the debris that were there. And I use this analogy where I talk about you know, a jewelry store. If you had an empty jewelry store, no one's in there, but it's fully packed. It's got all the jewels in there, and you've got a wrecking ball next to it, you know, a big crane, and it's smashed this thing to the ground. You know, it's ground level. would you go searching through all that debris and all that destruction and all that carnage for those 50,000, 150,000 pound diamonds, these tiny little diamonds that are there? Would you go searching for all that debris and destruction for those diamonds? Of course you would, because they're so valuable. And sometimes in life, we have to search through all the debris and destruction of what life throws at us to look for those little crumbs of comfort, those little nuggets, those little diamonds. And whichever way they're found, whether it's your self-esteem, whether it's your worth, whether it's your value, whether it's your confidence, whether it's the reminder to you knowing what you can take in life and you can still come back from it, man, they're priceless. That will never ever be taken away from you. Because when you look at diamonds as well, the process they have to go through to become a diamond is that they're a lump of black coal in the ground. They're taken from the ground out of the darkness. Severe pressure is applied to compact it down. Severe heat is applied to flush out all the impurities and toxins, and then it's cut into shape. And when you look at that process, you're in the darkness, pressure applied, heat applied, and cut. They're not glamorous words, but it's all a part of the process to becoming a diamond. And that's what really illuminated for me when my nephew was killed. Because before that, I mean, I'd been through a divorce. I had been living away from my family, so I didn't have family support. I was fighting a battle of ADHD and mild autism that I didn't know about, you know, all this different stuff. You know, I had gone through relationship breakups, heartbreak, grief and stuff. But that was the big one because of everything that it involved and everything that was there. And like I say, when someone that you love unconditionally, which was my oldest sister, because my dad left me when I was young, 8.5, and I was raised by very, very strong women. My brother-in-law, who was the husband of my oldest sister, has known me since I was born. So he's been like an amazing male influence, you know, in my life. My granddad as well. But my dad left, so I had the direct kind of influence of 3 amazing women, my mum and my 2 older sisters. And when you've got your oldest sister like literally phoning you saying that you've got to get in your car and travel 4 hours because her son, like your nephew, has been attacked and he's in the hospital, you know, that like the game changes. And like I say, when I went down, when you go into a hospital, that's one thing. But when you go into an intensive care unit, it's something completely different. And what I witnessed then was when I walked through, you know, the ward, and I walked through the curtains. And when you've got all those people that you love, adore and care about surrounding a young family member who's laying on that bed with a neck brace on and tubes coming out of his mouth and his chest going up and down, but that's not him breathing. That's the machine doing it for him. You know that life here is going to be very different from then on. One thing changed in that moment, and that was everything. And we are talking about how you think about things, how you approach things, what you feel guilty about, people's personalities and characteristics changing. Like my family are like a family of practical jokers. Like we love to laugh, and for a long time after, we felt guilty about laughing because we felt that it was inappropriate. We didn't want to celebrate birthdays. We didn't want to celebrate Christmas anymore. You know, that was stolen from us. You know, my sister and my brother-in-law, who were first loves, 12 and 13 years old, they got together. They were married at 19 and 20. They were within a cat's whisker of divorcing because they couldn't be there for each other in this battle, which is the greatest pain on the earth, bar none, when you are dealing with child loss. And I will even say, listen, losing a child is the greatest pain, but there's still that little bit of added extra is if you lose a child at the hands of somebody else, when there is someone there which you have to look at in the eye, and you have to sit there and you have to look at thinking you are responsible for the pain in which we are experiencing. That takes a lot of willpower. That takes a lot of you know, testing of every fiber of your being, who you are as a person, what you think about. And that came about because I always talk about environments, Lucy. Like there's environments that we have no power over. There's environments that we you know, like I say, no power over, but we have to deal with it and channel it in the best way that we can. There's environments that we need to put ourselves in to test ourselves, but there's also environments that we need to kind of get away from. This environment was an environment that I'd been thrown into that I had to get through. I had no choice of it happening. And Marcus Aurelius, you know, the Emperor of Rome, said, you know, we have power over our minds, but not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength, meaning that you can't do anything about what happens to you. You've got no power over that. It's about how you react to it. And because we're all dealing with energy, we're dealing with good and bad, good and evil energy. It's and energy doesn't go anywhere. It's just how you absorb it and you give it back and how you channel it. I was forced to come to that realization that this is how it is. In that moment when you see that, and then a little bit further on down the line in that process, in that intensive care unit, when they said we can do nothing more for your nephew, that's it. Like it's game over. He is forever asleep. You knew that this is just the only choice you've got is whether this makes you or breaks you. So I became that person that came to that realization that I've just got to take this energy. I've got no choice. I take this energy and then channel it in the best way that I can. And that is just a real example to life, that's what we've got to do. You can acknowledge it, and you can come to the realization. You can admit something willingly, or you will be forced to. And that comes into play in many, many different things. And I suppose life forced me into thinking certain ways, because my eldest princess Tilly, she was 3 months old at that time. I even went through a little phase where I felt guilty about bringing her into this world, because I thought this world is just nothing but nasty, just evil, and that is it. And I feel guilty about bringing her in. But then all of a sudden it's like, no, I've got to step back. I've got to prioritize my thinking here. Is this benefiting me? Is this benefiting me thinking that way? No, it's not. My baby's here, and daddy has just got to go out there and do what he can to not think about the nasty people that are in the world, but do what he can to be a shining example to her of what the good people do. And that's what a lot of people will do, Lucy, is they will look at the problem too much and not think about the solution. And I could have been stuck in there, load of bitterness, a lot of hatred about the problem that was in front of nasty people being in this world. But I then sort of looked at the solution of, right, I want to be a person that wants to go out there and I want to do good, and I want to show my babies to live a shining example. Because I don't know whether you know or not, but I'm very comfortable at speaking. Like, I love speaking. Like, I can just go for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever. But, you know, when you are a professional public speaker, like I say to people, listen, talk is cheap. It's properly cheap, and it may sound silly someone does it, but your actions need to back up what it is that you say. And that's why I love to show proof. So and I love to show evidence about what I do. And by going out there and doing it, I can show my babies, I can show the people around me, because that it's possible, because we dealt ourselves so much. And I made a promise to my nephew on his intensive care unit bed when they said, that's it, it's over, it's forever, like he's forever asleep. You know, I held his head, I kissed his forehead, I whispered into his ear, Connor, I am going to look after your family as best I can. I won't let them fall, and people will know your name. And by me going out there and doing that, I inspire my family from afar, because if I'm going out there and doing that, it'll show them that, listen, this is what we're made of. This is who we are. And that's me not letting them fall, even though I'm 4.5 hours away, 234 miles away. I'm still showing them. I'm still looking after them. And whenever I speak, and I speak the name Connor Saunders, just like now, strangers know his name. And it's a promise that I made, and it's a promise that I'm always going to keep.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And I love the fact that you are a shining example, and everything that you've just spoken through there is something massive that I talk about, which is finding the gold. There is such a level of victimhood in and around this world, and you have every reason to be a victim. Your family has every reason to be a victim. And you are stood there saying, you know, the most treacherous thing happened. Your nephew was murdered. And you can look at that situation. Probably not instantly could you find the gold, but over time you have been able to find the sources of gold for all of you to be able to inspire and step forwards. And Jamie, you know, me and you get on well, right? But that's fucking inspirational for people to hear, because there are people who have been through, and this isn't a competition, but there are people that have been through far less than that are still caught up in that loop of victimhood.
Yeah.
And it's a choice, right? It's a choice. At some point, you have to say, this is not going to define me. I'm going to search, and I'm going to inspire my family, or whatever it is that's your motivation, right?
Yeah, and it is a massive choice, and it's the word that is the key to so much. A boy chose to hit my nephew, and that one action nearly destroyed everybody, like nearly took us all down. It took us to the brink. It took us to the precipice of darkness. Yeah. Like my sister chose to take her own life. People choose a lot of things, and you can stay there or you can curl up and kind of die like a dog, or you can come out and start barking like a dog and start biting back like a dog. Yeah. And that's why I talk about a lot of people that, a lot of people have this, when I kind of connect the analogy of like the dog, I talk about activating your malinois. Now, this breed of dog is unreal. Like, it's not the biggest of dogs, but it's the reason why the armed forces use it and like the police use it, and it's a trained killer. And I don't know if you've ever seen the videos of like these malinois that just jump across rivers and lakes. They're like a missile on like 4 legs, and like they scale these 20-foot walls. And this malinois, it's not the biggest, but it can take a 17-stone man down like it's nothing. Within life, we want a little bit of comfort. We want the loyalty. We want the cute. We want the nice. The loyal Labrador doesn't get the job done. The cute little Chihuahua doesn't get the job done. The big fluffy Chow doesn't get the job done. The big cuddly thing. You have to activate your malinois that's inside you. And what people have to realize is that we come from a long line of malinois, because sometimes we think to ourselves, listen, I'm kind of in the trenches. I'm in the trenches. And then you think back to, like, when I think at my age now, 45, I've got my mum, and I know my granddad's like been dead now for like 10 years. He was kind of like 93 when he passed away. But that's only two generations above me. That man, he was on the HMS Ark Royal. He was fighting, like him and his friends were literally in trenches, the actual trenches. And although it's a real horrendous environment to be in, I know that there was an opportunity for them to win a battle, to win a war, and ultimately become a hero. That's where heroes were made. So when people are in these situations, it's all about the perspective. It's all about how you look at it, the choice that you have of the perspective of how you see this thing. This here is an opportunity. A lot of people will see a challenge. People don't like to be challenged because we live in a world of ease and comfort now, and everything is to hand. But when you take out the 3 middle letters of the word challenge, the double L and the E, it leaves the word change. So a challenge is an opportunity for you to change yourself, your circumstances, your situation, who you are, your destiny, your kind of course of your life. And when you look at, what you said about this victim mentality, a lot of people will give you what they deem to be a good reason as to why they are how they are. And I go into these prisons and I say, listen, why is it you battered that person to death? Why is it you killed him? Oh, because my dad left me when I was young, and I was in and around all these horrible people. I was in horrible environments. And I'm saying, listen, I was bullied when I was young. My dad left me when I was young. I was surrounded by drug dealers and drug users. I saw 2 people killed in broad daylight by the time I was 13 years old. Drug deals gone wrong. I've never gone out there hurting people. I've never gone out there even though I was witness to domestic violence, I didn't go out there hurting people. I know how to treat a woman. I know that that's not right. So what is your excuse? So a lot of people will give what they deem to be a good reason, but it's actually an excuse. And what people need to know, and this is the tough love. This is like the harshness of it. But I make no apologies of it, because we are dealing with life where it will give us these situations and circumstances that are killers. That it don't just knock on your door and ask to come in politely. It will smash your front door off of its hinges, come in unannounced, and literally say to you, now what? And it wants to take you out of the game. It wants to leave your kids orphaned. It wants to leave your parents with one less child. It wants to leave you. It wants to give you that situation. So that's how harsh it is. And this is what's needed. So when you take the excuse out of the game will all of a sudden change. Yeah. And I drew inspiration from this. Was when my nephew was killed. 2 days after his killing, he saved 5 people's lives with his organs. His heart couldn't be used because it was too traumatized, but what could be used was his heart valves, and his heart valves were put into storage. 7 months later, when I was in the darkness, when I was in the pit, we got the news that he had saved the life of a 10-month-old baby girl with one of his heart valves. My beautiful curly-haired princess Tilly was 10 months old at that time. Oh. That was my my nephew saying to me, listen, Unc, like, I'm not even here anymore, and I'm still saving people's lives. What's your excuse? What's your excuse? Don't go giving me what you think is a reason. What's your excuse that you cannot get up and use what God has given you to go out there and help people? So I thought, right, okay, I'm going to dust myself off. I'm going to get up and, right, let's go. And it's like 3 months after that, we got the news that he'd saved the life of a 5-year-old boy with his other heart valve. 8 months after that, after I started doing my talks, I got I got a little bit of feedback back from a 14-year-old boy. Now, I had got a lot of feedback back off of people before saying, this is the best talk I've heard, your best speaker I've seen, thank you very much, this has helped me, blah, blah, blah. But this was the game changer. This 14-year-old boy, and it's up on my social media. People can kind of go and see. I'm not over elaborating. The end of the message, like this big long email, it said, thank you for everything you said today. You've not just changed my life, but you saved it, because tonight I was planning on committing suicide. Now, that was from a 40, and all of a sudden, bang, the light bulb went off. Connor Saunders saved people's lives with his organs. I've now saved people's lives with my words. There's the excuse taken out of the game. Now let's go. Two different ways of doing it, but ultimately the same outcome. Exactly. And that was like the light bulb moment for me. The excuse was taken out of the game, and the game then changed.
I love that, Jamie. That's so inspirational. It really is. And to hear the connection that you have with your nephew from the other side is just so beautiful. Clearly you're walking shoulder to shoulder, hand in hand, you know, laughing along the way as you go, which to a lot of people will sound quite crude, but at the end of the day, but that's what's happening. You have gone through the process of a diamond. And when you were saying it earlier, I was like, it's actually the awakening process, right? It's exactly the awakening process. And a lot of people have had to go through that in the last 3 or 4 years because of the situation that we have found ourselves in, right? People have had to question things. People have been abandoned by their families. They've been in the depths of despair. They've had pressure applied more than they've ever had. Are they going to stay loyal to their job, or are they going to stay loyal to their beliefs? Are they going, like, it's wild. And I love the analogy that you used, because it is so fitting of every area of life. Yes, the challenges, and those challenges sometimes show up in treacherous situations like what you went through with your nephew, and then your sister, which is, my heart just aches for you and your family. Honestly, it really does. And then we have these situations of what the government create and the way that other people create things for us. So I just think it's so inspirational what you are doing. And I really do feel that if people can even just take one thing from tonight, and I know we've only been speaking about 20 minutes so far, but if they can take one thing from tonight so far, that is the shit that you are finding yourself sludging through right now. No, one day this could easily be the thing that you help save other people on, right?
Yeah, because how I sum it up, like I like to give it short, sharp. I'm like a very loving, cuddly ram raid. Like I'll come in as quickly as I can. Your life experiences that you're going right here, right now, could be someone else's survival guide in the future. And this is why a lot of people will put a lot of emphasis on self, right? But when you put it on self, we do not operate at our optimum level, because we think that if we do or don't do anything and we don't accomplish anything, it's only me that it affects. Or you think, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it next week, I'll do it next month, I'll start, you know, I'll do it sometime in the future, because it's only you. But if you start thinking to yourself, if I do or don't do this, how is it going to affect my kids? Now, a lot of people say, oh, I'll die for my kids. I'll die for my kids. That's easy. That's the easy option, dying for your kids, because you won't be here anymore to experience this. The challenge for you is start living for your kids. Start being a shining example for your kids. There's the challenge, and showing them. So you need to go out and do it. And when you start thinking, right, how is this going to hurt or hinder or help my child if I don't get this done, then it takes on a whole new kind of identity, that we think, right, okay, it's not just about me anymore. There's little eyes looking up at me. There's little eyes looking at my next move. And that's what you have to see, and you have to acknowledge, you have to realize that, yeah, if I don't get this done, then they will suffer. But what an unbelievable gift that you can give, that you can show that you go through the trenches, you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, and you come out shining. And you have to understand that I take a lot, because that prayer was found, Psalm 23 was found on my nephew's phone when we got his belongings back. And verse 4, when it says, yea, though I walk through the valley of shadow of death, I will fear no evil. What you have to understand is people don't want to go through that. And one of the key words in that is walk through it. When we're fearful, we want to run. But if you run, you kind of end the process too early. If you walk through it, You learn your lessons, you come out the other side a better version of yourself because you give it time. You give yourself time. Don't want to be running. If you're running, then you're gonna end the process too quickly. But the shadow of death, right? It's not the valley of death, it's the shadow of death. A shadow is the temporary blockage of light. There's no such thing as darkness. Light will always overpower dark. There's no such thing as dark room. A dark room is only possible when there is absence of light. A shadow is the temporary blockage of light. The light is there, it's just being temporarily blocked. So what you're going through, it is the valley of the shadow of death. I mean, it doesn't have to be someone dying in order for it to be applicable to what it is you're going through. But when it's the temporary blockage of light, you know that the light's there. You just got to keep going, one step at a time, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time, 1 week at a time. And you will get to that place where you've walked through it and you come out the other side and the light will shine again. But just have that hope that what it is you're going through, that darkness is only the temporary blockage of light. The light is waiting there. You've just got to keep on going.
Yeah, I love that, Jamie. I love that. And, you know, really, the version of you, I believe, based on the conversation that we had last time, although, you know, you didn't get involved in the drugs and the gangs and the things that you spoke about earlier when you were younger, do you believe that your nephew was the real turning point for you to become this man that we see today, who is so certain? And I don't question you've been through a lot of stuff since then, you know, I'm not questioning that. But what we see today, especially, you know, what we saw in the last video was this beautiful, confident, conscious man talking about certain areas of your life. And, you know, I can't believe that that was always the way that you've been, right? Because this is an incremental process, certainly from my perspective anyway. It's always been about increments. You get to a certain point and then you have a transformation again, whether that be through good, bad or ugly. Like there's a massive transformation and then you do another increment and then again, boom, you get another transformation. So do you believe that Connor passing was the starting point of this transformation into the man that we see today?
Yeah, it was a big reason. It's a massive chunk of it. I mean, because when I do look back, you know, my kind of school reports will always show that because I was bigger than a lot of kids my size. I was always the protector of like littler ones, the weaker ones. Like I always had that in me to kind of protect others, look after others, be a nurturer of other people. So I had that in me. But when you kind of go through you know, to that point, you know, what I'd been through up until that point, I mean, I had handled life pretty well. I was a decent human being. I never brought any animosity, any negative or nastiness to my mum's door. You know, I was always, you know, the one that other parents would say, listen, if my son is going out with you for a night out, I know they're going to be looked after.
That's
like
nice.
I'm kind of reassured. But that, it just took on a whole different kind of identity. It went up levels at that point, because even if you are the most decent, positive, productive human being, you know, kindest human being that there is, that there can take you right back to square one. That can awaken the beast in you. That can awaken hatred, you know, the vileness that's in you, and it could change you into someone that you don't want to be and you don't want to become. So there's the massive challenge about how you use this negative, this evil, this darkness. Are you going to allow it to kind of change you into a person that you're not meant to be and keep you where you are? Or are you going to use it to turn you into the person that you dream of becoming and getting you to where it is you want to get to? I mean, because I'm very, very proud. I'm very proud to do what it is that I do. I mean, with no qualifications, it's all been done on respect. It's all been done on the hard work, the willingness, the doggedness that I've got, the impact that I have, how I've taken, you know, this negative and literally put it into a positive. It speaks for itself, and it's evidence that I'm literally going into these places, because you can't just turn up and say, listen, I've got something to say and I've got a message and I want to come in to this school and speak to the kids. Like,
doesn't work like that.
Right, you know what I mean? You can't go into a prison, a young offender institute or a college or university to do the same thing. So just the fact that I've got no qualifications, I mean, I'm kind of CRB checked and DBS checked, you know, up to the hilt, and I've got some of the highest caliber kind of checks going. But, you know, it's all done on my reputation, who I am, you know, and the evidence that I can show. So I'm very, very proud of that. but a lot of people will kind of look at it that it may have been given to him easy. People have let him in the back door, like people have done him, but no one's done me a favor. No one's done me a favor. Like, listen, on social media, a lot of people will kind of say that, in their bio that they're a motivational speaker. Go and look at their account, and it's just them stood in front of the camera phone, videoing, or them sitting down in front of the camera. Go and show me the evidence of you speaking to a live audience where the people value you enough to pay for your fee, your accommodation, your expenses, to travel all over the country to go and speak to people in person. I don't care how many followers you got. I don't care how many shares you got. Like, I've literally spoken to over like 450 or 500,000 people in person. Like, they're in flesh. And those are the kind of numbers that truly matter, that truly count. Because that's where us as human beings truly thrive, is off of each other and off of our energy and in the room presence. And people would love to do what it is that I do, but they don't want to do what it is that I do. So I get to do what it is that I do. They don't want to be traveling all over the country. They don't want to be leaving their house at 2 a.m, driving for 2 hours, pulling over for a little power nap, driving for another 2 hours, another power nap in the service station to get to drive another 2 hours to get up north somewhere to go and do 5 1-hour talks in a day, where the last 5 minutes of the 5th talk will have the same amount of energy, passion, and fire as the first 5 minutes of the first talk. My standards will not slip, because I made someone a promise. I carry them on my back, and I'm literally an advocate and a representative for these people. And that's the challenge, and I've got to show them in the right light. I got to show them the family that they come from. I got to show them that the apple does not fall far from the tree. This family is who they are. These people are literally who they are. And you need to know that that person that is not here anymore, that can't speak for himself, these people that can't speak for themselves, they came from the same tree. And that's a challenge that I give to so many people is, listen, look at your behavior, look at who you are, look at what you're doing, look at who you are as a person. This isn't about you anymore. Look at how you're representing your family. Look at how you're representing an advocate for your family. Are you showing them in the best light? Because how you act, how you behave, what you do, it doesn't just show who you are, it's also a reflection on them. So step up to the plate, be the best version of yourself that you can be, and not just for yourself, but the people that you love, adore, and care about as well.
Absolutely. Something that you just said about people want to be doing what you're doing, like I get that. I get that people want the limelight, because all they see is, like yourself, I've spoken on stage in front of tens of thousands of people, and they just see that girl in the red dress, or you walking around doing your thing. They don't realize the backstory more often than not. Like, I'm thankful that I don't have to share the story that you've got, because that's fucking hideous. Losing your nephew in the way that you did, and then your sister. I don't know if you speak about that as well, but
suicide prevention is now
hideous.
Of my work. Absolutely.
It's hideous, and I'm really grateful that I haven't had to get there like that. So if anybody out there wants to become like a public speaker, figure out your topic, like figure out what your challenges have been and where the gold is hidden in your life, and then go and create something, because that's what Jamie has done so beautifully. That's what I've been able to do. So we're no different from you guys. You guys can go and do the same. This world has got enough hate and enough jealousy and enough bitterness. Like, we don't need to be bringing that forwards in any area of our life, not at all. Like I say, it's hard work, isn't it? Being vulnerable enough to put yourself out there, to maybe be pushed away or shunned or ignored or whatever.
And what you have to understand is you're dealing with a lot of society's mindsets, beliefs, and ways of thinking as well. Because I like to give this kind of possible scenario. Listen, if I was running a seminar 11 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon, a totally free seminar, and I'm on this side of the street in this big hall, and I'm talking about resilience, I'm talking about mindset, I'm talking about doggedness, confidence, self-esteem, how to turn a negative into a positive, and how to turn adversity into victory, your pain into power. And then over the other side, and like mine's a free event, and over the other side of the road in another big hall, same time, 11 till 5, there's someone over there telling you how to put an extra zero on the end of your bank balance, each month, an extra 2 zeros, how to have this amazing life, how to listen. And they were charging £500 a ticket. That seminar over there would be packed to the rafters. Mine would be struggling for attendees, because at the end of the day, people want that ease. They want that comfort. But what you've got to realize is you've got to look at yourself, and you have got to get your foundations right. Now, I've never built a house, but I know that there is not a single structure that is standing without the proper strong foundations being built. There is nothing that will stand. If you literally just go onto soft ground, you can put the most beautiful walls up. You can put the most beautiful high spec double glazing in the actual windows, the finest slate as the roof. But in 6 months, that will subside and that will fall down. But the people that put the foundation in, and you have to understand that the foundation is the thing that's unseen. You can't see the foundation. Yeah. It's not glitzy, it's not glamorous, but it's so needed. And people, they don't want to kind of own up to say, look, I do need to work on my foundation. I do need to work on my self-esteem, my confidence. I do need to work on my resilience. I do need to turn adversity into victory, because there's a lot of adversity in my life. I do need to turn the positive into negative. But they think that by earning a little bit more money, that's going to cure their problems. And I say to people, listen, it doesn't matter what car you drive. It doesn't matter what house you live in. It doesn't matter how much money you got in the bank. It doesn't matter what clothes you wear. There are problems in this life that you can't put in your Bugatti Veyron and tell it to keep on driving and it don't come back. You can't lock it in one of your 5 bedrooms in your 5-bedroom mansion and never ever go into that room again. You can never ever show it your Armani suit or your Coco Chanel dress and it's impressed, or you can't pay that problem off. It's literally about how much heart you got. Because I know a lot of people, listen, when I go and speak at business conferences, and there's multi-millionaires there, multi-million-pound business corporate events, because I know that I can stand in amongst those people and say, do you know what, without any degree of arrogance, that I'm the most successful person in it. Do you know why? Because there are people that are still living because of the words in which I've spoken. And I know that if any one of your kids, any one of your sisters, your little brothers, your sisters, your sons, your daughters were faced with a problem and only my words could help them, you would give me those keys to the Bugatti Veyron. You would transfer your 5 million in your bank, boom, before I've even asked for it. Bank transfer. You would give me the keys to your house. You would literally give me all your designer clothes, because that's what truly matters at the end of the day. But a lot of people, they're looking for the fine slate, the roof to put on, when they haven't even worked on their foundations yet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love the way that you've just explained that. And actually, it's a very instant gratification timeline that we're living in right now, isn't it? It's just, how do we quickly put a plaster over it and move forwards? How do we get the next hit? How do we get the next dopamine hit, without actually having to look ourselves square in the eye and go, right. Like I actually have a 12-month program, and a lot of people come to that program and they're super conscious, like super out there. I can connect with this and I can hear this and I can hear that, but they've got all of these weeds around their ankles, tying them down in their traumas. And that is my way of explaining what you've just explained about the structure and, the support and the foundations, right? Unless you recognize what's going on and holding you in place, then you can't ever step forwards with ease and grace. And for me, these weeds, these misaligned foundations actually hold a lot of gold for you to be able to get the structural support so that you can go forwards and you can create everything that you're envious about other people creating. And this is the beautiful part. And again, a piece of gold that you get from it. If you're prepared to look at yourself and say, hey, right, what do I like about myself? But also what needs to be developed? That's when you're able to step forwards. And that's when you're really, really able to evolve. So, Jamie, how have you gone? I mean, let's talk about your sister a little bit. So how soon after your nephew did your sister commit suicide?
It was 8 years. So my nephew got killed in 2012. My sister died by suicide, because that's something that we've got to get out of, saying and labeling, because back in the day, suicide was a criminal offense, and that's when you say, committed. That's why we start saying, listen, they died by suicide or they took their own life. But I only said that because it's how the 14-year-old boy said it in his letter as well. So yeah, I know people are kind of pushed to that limit where they literally think that it is the only answer. And again, death by suicide is the death that leaves more questions than answers. But I've got this gift, I've got this natural ability to be able to show people how to look at things in a different way. And I'm very open about how I speak. I'm not shameful about how I speak. You know, I don't think that it's airy fairy, you know, the stuff in which I think about, or how I say things. And a lot of men would have a lot of problem saying things how I say them, because it airy fairy and a bit spiritual and a bit out there, a bit wacky. But I've got no kind of qualms about doing it. Okay. And a lot of people have said I haven't seen grief in that way. I haven't seen it because I take out the excuse and I bring in the reason. I take the excuse out the game changes, and I start challenging people. And it's not until you're challenged that you can then all of a sudden change. And I've seen a lot of people do that, and I've walked through the valley of the shadow of death, and I still walk it on a daily basis. No one does, but it's just about how capable you are to walk, how strong you are, how much strength you've got, how you think about this walk, because it is a 24/7, 365 thing. And a lot of people say, "Oh, time is the great healer," and time isn't a healer. Time just gives you the opportunity to become stronger in which to carry that weight. That weight never goes. You never stop loving them. You never stop missing them, but you become stronger in yourself to carry that same weight that weighed the same back then. And it's like a lot of people, they always put emphasis, like I say, on the date that it happened. My nephew was killed on April the 14th. My sister took her own life on May the 20th, but I don't have any less pain on April the 13th, January 10th. I don't have any less pain for my sister on December the 2nd than what I do on May the 20th. So I don't let the date kind of have any impact on me. The only thing that I do is I challenge people that on that day that they were born, pay them the ultimate respect by go out there and doing double up. When the grief comes down, when the pain comes down, you double up. And what do? You go out there and do the things that they used to love doing, because they haven't got the gift. They haven't got what it is that you've got, the luxury of taking another breath and living this life. And absolutely. I will challenge people by saying, look, I could give you 100 grand right now. And people would say, oh yeah, amazing. And then I say, but would you rather take 50 million from me? Oh yeah, 50 million. Absolutely. It's a no-brainer. But the stipulation is that you do not wake up tomorrow. That's it. You've got to say bye to your family. You've got to say bye to your kids. You won't see your kids grow up, your grandkids. You won't see your family anymore. Well, no, I don't want to do right. So what you're telling me is waking up every morning is worth more than 50 million. Let's make the most of that gift now. So when I say double up, go out there and go to the places that they used to love going to. Go and do the things that they used to love doing themselves, because you're paying them the ultimate respect. Because a lot of people say, oh, I hope I'm doing them proud. I hope I'm doing them. Well, go out there and do the stuff that you know, without a shadow of a doubt, that they'd be sitting back saying, that's my girl. that's my apple. That's my tree. That's me. And that's what people have got to realize, that this ain't no joke. And you can talk about stuff as much as you like and say, oh, do you know what? I'll burn this negative energy away with a bit of sage. But sometimes the sage
not going to happen.
You've literally got to add a V and an A to that and become savage. And that's where the Malinois comes out of it, because this thing ain't no joke. This thing ain't easy. And the only way you're going to get through it and make the best of it is if you bite back. There's no easy way of becoming that diamond. No. And when you go through the process of the darkness, of the pressure, of the heat of the cut, you will always be a diamond. Once the diamond is a diamond, you are who you are. That diamond will never, ever perish. You can throw it in the dirt, you can kick it, you can throw it, you can cover it in muck, but underneath it will always be the diamond. And there are too many people who are like crystal, that are like glass. Listen, a bit of crystal or a bit of glass can be cut into the same shape as a diamond, and from a distance it looks exactly the same, but you apply a bit of pressure, boom. It's because people are caught up in this culture of convenience, culture of ease, of comfort, things being instant gratification, instant satisfaction, instant reward, instant success. Doesn't work that way. You're running. You want to run when you have to walk. You want to run through the valley of the shadow of death when you need to walk, because that's how you're going to learn the lessons and become the person that you are destined to be.
Exactly. And it's those conscious steps, isn't it? It's making sure that every single one of those steps that you take is conscious and you feel that pain. There's a lot of people now, I believe it's always been the case, actually. You know, I used to be one of those people. I would dull it down with drugs or alcohol. You know, as soon as there was pain, I'd be like, oh, the answer's at the bottom of a bottle of wine, or the answer's at, the end of a line of Coke or something. And this is the environment. This is the distractions that have been placed around us to basically keep us from becoming as high vibrational, as conscious, as, you know, determined to change this world that we've been living in. As, you know, I love it. I love hearing you speak, Jamie, because you're brutal like I am. And I actually really resonate with that. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't. I often get comments like, God, you're so cutthroat. And I'm like, well, then I'm not your person.
Listen, life is out there to cut your throat. That's the thing. And like I say, listen, you can wave the sage as much as you like, but there are things that you ain't gonna meditate away. There are things that you ain't gonna sage away, that you ain't gonna kind of
You've got to feel it.
take a walk along a beach away. You have literally got to go full in savage, because that opponent that's across the way from you wants to take your head off.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You've got to feel it, right? There's so many people that are distracting from the feelings. And, you know, for me, two deaths of young people in your life. I mean, I've lost a lot of people in my life, you know, all my grandparents. I've lost one of my best friends, lots of different people, but it's been spread out over many, many, many years. Two young people in your life over the span of 8 years is treacherous. You know, like, genuinely, you know, you as a brother, as an uncle, but your mum and your other sister must just be absolutely have questioned at times, like, what the fuck?
This is where it takes the excuse out of the game for me, because I look at my sister, I look at my mum. Like I say, both of them now have experienced the greatest pain on earth, which is child loss. I look at my sister that has lost a sibling and she's lost a child. I look at my mum that has lost a child and she has lost a grandson. My mum is all of a sudden the top of the grief tree now. I've lost a sister and I've lost a nephew. So my pain is phenomenal. It's monumental, but it's nothing compared to them. It takes the excuse out of the game for me that when I see them keep on pushing forward, and my sister give out a 115th defibrillator that costs £1,000 a piece, where they raise money for, to go out there and keep people heart safe. What's the excuse I've got not to do the same? When I see my mum, who is 77 years old, who was 24 hours away from death last year, the end of 2019, where her intestines burst, and literally they said, if you don't have an operation in the next 24 hours, you are going to be dead. But if you do have the operation, it's 50-50 whether you're going to survive. My mum was like, give me the operation. And she said, I know what 50% is going to be. She said, because I need to be here for my kids. I need to be here for my great grandkids grow. And I'm like, whoa, there it is. That's the tree that I come from. There's the reminder. That's whose DNA I've got. That's whose half of the heart I got. That's whose blood is running through my veins. Then when I go through a divorce and all that game, and I look at my little babies and daddy's got to stay strong, I all of a sudden remember who my mum is. Yeah. I all of a sudden remember who their nan is. And I've got to stay strong, and I've got to show them, my babies, listen, you're half a daddy. Yeah. You've got my DNA. You've got half of my heart running through your veins. And half of my heart and half of your blood, half of my blood running through your veins. So look at what you can do. Look at what you're capable of. So amazing. Yeah, that takes the excuse out of the game for me. Is when I see my mum and my sister still do it, there's no excuse for me not to do the same, no matter what trench I'm going through, no matter what darkness I'm in. Those beacons of light, those strong, powerful women, boom, there's my DNA. That's my tree. And as an apple, I've got to show other people where I come from.
They sound extremely inspirational. They really, really do. Like, honestly, I hope there's a lot of women out there that are going, you know, like, I need to up my shit for my kids, you know, because genuinely, like, how amazing of your mum to make that decision and be like, that 50% is my 100%. Like, that's no warrior question. Speak. No that's warrior speak. And you know, your sister, like you say, I can't even begin to imagine. You know, it's
yeah. When I see what they've gone through, Lucy, it's an example to me. because I walked that path with them. And when I say, look, grief is grief, loss is loss, but there are certain elements to it that change the game. And what I'm saying is within this whole process, we have had to look at where we look for the crumbs of comfort. And like I say, listen, child loss is child loss. And when you lose somebody, the natural step is within the next kind of 6 weeks, maybe, is to lay them to rest. And then that's when your kind of healing starts, your grieving, you start then to heal from that moment. But put on top that you've then still got to wait for a murder trial, where you've got to then sit in that place and you look into the eyes of the devil, the person that done it, and you have to control yourself. You have to listen to things you don't want to listen to, hear things you don't want to hear, experience stuff you don't want to experience, see stuff you don't want to see. You have to listen to medical terminology. There are people on the other side that are trying to character assassinate the person that you love, the person that at 16 years old thought about other people, that I'm going to sign the gift of life organ donation register and literally care about other people when I'm not here. The loving, kind person. That takes a whole nother level of self-control, and for you to walk through a trench, because you can't speak out, you can't shout out. Because the judge said to us, listen, if you shout out, if you cause disruption in any way, you will be thrown out, and this will be conducted behind closed doors. So we had to stay quiet. We had to sit there. We had to take it. We couldn't put our fingers in our ears and pretend it wasn't happening. We couldn't walk out of the door and just ignore it. We couldn't kind of just pretend that it's not as bad as what it was. We had to sit there. We had to take it. And then on the other side, we come to this realization that we're pulling this crumb of comfort out of this. We've just searched through the debris, and the diamond is we now know what it is that we can withstand and endure to get through and get to the other side. And that's why I'm so powerful at what I do, because I can say to people, listen, I can't walk this path for you, but I can definitely walk it with you. Do not worry. I haven't just got sympathy with you of what you're going through. I've got empathy. I've been there. I've walked it, and I can walk you through it too. Come with me. Let me work with you, and I can get you to the other side. Yeah. And that is what a gift that is. I could do nothing about what happened to my nephew. I could do nothing about what happened to my sister. Trust me. If I had a wish to be in front of my sister, 10 minutes, just give me 10 minutes and I'll give the best motivational speech ever given, because I would tell her about her worth. I'd tell her about her value, how important she is, how much she would love it. And I wished I could have that opportunity, but I can do nothing about that, but I can do everything about how I approach things from this moment on. So a lot of people will be rooted to the past, influenced by the past, hurt by the past, caused pain by the past. But it's no good. It's all about the present here and what we do in the present that will ultimately kind of help our future.
Absolutely. Your sister and your nephew are so proud of you. Like, they are so proud of you for what you're doing. Like, genuinely, I think that I can hear that stuff and feel that stuff, and they are so proud of you. Like, I've been getting lots coming through whilst you've been talking today, and they're really proud of you, Jamie. And you got to keep on keeping on, because this is your mission, this is their mission, and that's why they're walking side by side with you on this, and you're just using your voice and channeling their words. So she knows what you would have said to her, but she knew she'd be more helpful to you on the other side. And I know that's probably really difficult to hear, but I think it's really important to say, because
that's the thing I can accept that, because it's either one or the other. Like, thinking that, oh yeah, I wish I could have done that talk, which is impossible. So my only option now is to look at how much help are you from the other side. Because as I say to people, listen, my mum, like when I took that phone call from my mum, where she's screaming down the phone, telling her baby that her middle baby has taken her own life. That's not a nice phone call to be able to take. You wouldn't want to experience that in your worst nightmare. But I remembered that I'd been through the process of Connor. I'd been through that trench. And although this is now broken my heart, shattered me to pieces, that's it. Baby brother is destroyed. I know I've been knocked back, but I haven't been knocked over. I haven't been knocked out, and I can still push forward from this. So I know that my mum has literally tortured herself. I should have done more. I should have done more. I should have been there. I should have been. I said, Mum, the only way that you could have possibly have stopped this is by being handcuffed to her 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you would have fallen asleep at some time. You could have been with her for 23 hours and 59 minutes. But in that other minute, she would have done what it was that she would have done. And you can ask 1,000,001 questions. And this is how you're at peace with yourself, and how you reassure yourself, and how you kind of start to heal, especially where suicide is concerned, is if they could come back for 1 minute, what would you ask them? A lot of people, oh, why did you do it? Why did you leave us behind? What could I have done more? And no matter what answer they give, it would only lead to another question. The only question that you need to ask is, are you at peace now? Yeah. The answer would be yes. And it's like, right, okay, now I can push forward, and I can be the advocate for you. I can be the apple, and I can show what tree you come from, because I've got no other choice. And it is literally, if you're at peace now, that's the conversation ender. You're at peace, because you think about animals, and I don't want to compare humans to animals, but like a lot of people say, when you put down a dog and when you put down, any pet, that they're at peace now. It's a show of mercy. And if they're not here anymore, it's a mercy for the torture in which they go through, and the darkness in which they go through. So I may not be able to save everybody that I speak to, but I'm going to give everything that I've got for every person that I work with, and show them what value they've got, how important they are, how loved they are, the good things that they make happen just by being them, the bad things that they stop from happening just by being them. And if you want an example, the only thing you've got to do is sit down and watch the best film ever made, It's a Wonderful Life, and you see how George W. Bailey, just by being him, stopped so much like vileness and evil and bad and negative happening just by him being him. Yeah. And a lot, they don't value themselves enough. So like I say, I may not be able to save everybody, but that doesn't give me the excuse not to try and give everything that I got to do it. I may even prolong. There are people that, like my sister, I think, who weren't destined to be here for longer than the time in which she was. And that may be the case, but I may not be able to save. I may not be able, I may be just able to prolong, to give people a little bit more time, but I also stop people in their tracks as well. And I know that there are people that are still living because of what I've done. And that's something that I'm very, very proud of. And it's, I can admit myself, not by saying, oh, it's nothing. It's no, it's something, because I know that there are people out there who aren't going through the same pain as my sister and my mum, which is child loss and sibling loss because of me. And yeah, I'm kind of proud of that, and I'm good with that.
And so you bloody well should be. Honestly, Jamie, you're such an inspirational man, and like kudos to your whole family, right? Your mum, your sister, the fact that your sister's been able to pull her marriage back online, things like that, like that's freaking inspirational. These things are designed to rip us apart. And the fact that all of you guys, it sounds like you've come together closer than ever, you've got more respect for each other than ever, and that you're navigating these things, things that people out there would think that they can't ever navigate again. You guys have not done it once, but you've done it twice. It's like really inspirational.
And I want to give kudos to my brother-in-law, because I know, like you've just said, my sister dragged it back online. As a man, when you've got a 1.4 million turnover a year business, 30 employees, 11 vehicles out on the road, and that goes to the wall inside 4 months because of the murder of your son, and you can't function as a human being, and you have to sell your top of the range car for next to no money to keep the bills paid, the roof over your head, and buy a little cheap run around. Your marriage is kind of going down the toilet. You as a man, as a protector, the provider, the one, like how that must have smashed my brother-in-law to pieces. I'll never know. I'll never know. I can't even comprehend. But him as the provider, as the strength, as the oak tree, I know that his roots were kind of deep enough to withstand the blow. That although things were going wrong around him, and he was seeing, his daughter kind of sinking into depression, my niece, Connor's going into depression, his brother going through the turmoil, Connor's girlfriend, heartbroken, grief-stricken, going through exactly the same thing. He would have felt so helpless at that time as a man, as the provider, as the protector, as the oak that kind of wants to protect everybody with his big, strong branches and his shade. How it must have smashed him to pieces. And what he's done now, my nephew was a massive football fan, massive football player, lover of football, and my And my brother-in-law still coached football. He's won many titles. He's well
Wow.
like a semi-professional kind of and county league football. He keeps on pushing forward. And when you see, you know, when he sees a player plays in the same position as his son, wearing the same number as his son, number 5, which was so kind of it was so symbolic because he saved 5 people's lives within 48 hours with his organs. You know? And that's why we always say as a family, 5 is alive, because we still think he's here and he's still with us. That hell, each time that must have smashed his heart and still continues to do so. But he knows that that's the greatest honor and respect that he can pay his son, because he knows his son would give anything to be on that field. And that's the greatest honor and respect and gift that he can give his son.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. So beautiful. And I love the fact that you've honored all of your family, including your brother-in-law here, right? Because it's such a horrible, treacherous journey, and so easily people can turn on each other. You know, I've heard so many stories where people turn on each other, they walk away from each other, it's enough, you know. So Jamie, I love speaking to you. I think it's absolutely amazing. And you know, this isn't the lightest of subjects to speak about, right? It's heavy. It's heavy on the heart to hear these things. And you know, like I said last time, my heart aches for you and your family. I love what you're doing with it, though. I love the fact that you're inspiring people. Your mum's inspiring people, your sister, your brother-in-law, you're all coming together in such an inspirational unit, and really changing the world together in this way. It's just amazing to see.
Thank you so much for that. And it's sometimes we do need a little reminder from other people from an outside perspective of what it is that we're doing. So I can't thank you enough for that, Lucy. You know, it's a real blessing. And yeah, just as a family, you know, we're not superheroes. This is what I want people to know, is like I don't wear a cape, I haven't got an S on my chest, and I certainly don't wear my pants outside my tights. So it's like that's only on a Friday night, you know. But you know, there's nothing special about me, and I've chosen to do this. I've walked through the valley. I've allowed the process. I'm not getting overwhelmed by the process. I'm making the hard choices which bring the greater rewards. I'm not looking for the path of least resistance, which a lot of people do. I'm comfortable with being uncomfortable now, and that sums it up. That yeah, it's not the lightest of subjects to speak about, but you know, I'm comfortable being uncomfortable now, because during like certain presentations, I will just play 4 minutes of CCTV footage inside a Tesco Express that just shows my nephew smiling, happy, being himself. And I see that, but then I think to myself, I look at the time in the corner, and I think to myself, 10 minutes later, his life was taken. So can you imagine, you know, each time I show that or experience that, you know, I have to think that 10 minutes later he's not here anymore, and I wish I was there. I wish I was there to protect him. You know, I beat myself up like you wouldn't believe. I should have been there to protect him. I should have been there, but that's psychological kind of restraints and cords that we have from our childhood, that we want to be responsible for something, because you know we want to have a reason for something happening, and we kind of automatically put ourselves in the firing line. But I now know that I couldn't have done anything about it, and it's been a real kind of release for me. But the biggest thing is I forgave the boy that done it, which kind of took away all the negative and the hatred and the bitterness inside me, because I couldn't go in and speak to little primary school children who were going through trauma, who were going through the trenches, like little 6 and 7 year olds that may be thinking, even at their age, that the world would be a better place off without them, that they're self-harming, that they're going through all these trials and tribulations. I couldn't stand in front of them and do it if I was full of bitterness and hatred. No. So I've had to do what I haven't wanted to do in order for me to be able to do what it is that I do.
God's plan can be quite cruel sometimes, hey?
And massively so. And what you have to understand is in the book, I think it's Jeremiah, where you talk about the gold going into refiner's fire, and you burn away the bad. And when you look at goldsmiths, they only have a 10-second window of when the gold is perfect, of when it needs to be taken out of the fire. If you take it out too soon, not enough of the impurities and toxins are taken out of it. It's not been refined enough. Leave it in too long, the metal, the gold will melt, and it's destroyed. And they say that the 10-second window of when they know that it's perfect is when they can see a crystal clear reflection in the gold of themselves. And a lot of the time, God's plan, listen, we're put into the fire. And he said, listen, you're in the fire, you're being refined, but I will pull you out of the fire when I see more of my reflection in you. And that's when we are refined. And we need to also be good. We need to be well. We need to be reassured with the reflection that we see back in the mirror as well. And that comes with all the self-esteem, the confidence, know that that person looking back at you, it is the reason why you're in the situations that you are. But the good thing is there's also the answer that's looking back at you. Not a lot of people like what looks back at them in the mirror. So until you're in that position where you can be reassured, we're all work in progress. No one's perfect. We can always work upon ourselves. And if there's people out there who are on self-development journeys, who have worked with coaches, who are doing amazing things that are turning adversity into victory, and they still need to work on themselves, then there is no excuse for you not to work on yourself as well to get through this thing called life. So work on yourself to be reassured and to be thankful and grateful with the reflection that looks back on you. And then that's when you're taken out of the fire and then you're refined like gold.
Absolutely. I love that. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, I'm going to say one last thing, and that is, I know you said you're not special. I think people are going to disagree with that. I think you've got a very, very special talent, and I think you are very, very gifted, and you've been given a very special mission this lifetime, Jamie. And I'm really grateful to Wendy for putting you and I in touch, because I just, smudge. Sorry, we have to call her a smudge, ladies and gents. I'm very grateful to her for putting us in touch. I absolutely love speaking to you. Honestly, I hope you share my...
We could go on for...
I know, we really could. We really could. We could have a whole series, couldn't we, me and you?
Right. You were literally right about parts 2, 3, 4, and 5. For the 4 of us. Yeah. It's all going to kick off.
For sure. For sure. Well, look, share my words with your family, because, you know, if you need to hear them sometimes, maybe they need to hear them too. And I genuinely mean it. You guys are extremely inspirational. Ladies and gents, Jamie's details will be in the description field. So please do feel free to hit him up, reach out to him. You know, if you've got speaking that you want him to do, whatever, please do reach out. And we will be having this gorgeous soul back on here ever so soon, and I really look forward to it, Jamie. Honestly, thank you so much for your time. It's Friday night after all, and he's given up his Friday night to me, ladies and gents. So yeah, Jamie, thank you very much, and ladies and gents, thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next video.
Blessings.